Hi guys, my name is Josh McQueen, and the topic I chose for the discussion thread, Women of the Revolutionary Era, was the life of Jane McCrae and her influence on the American Revolution. The sources I used were James Austin Holden's Influence of Death of Jane McCrae on Burgoyne Campaign, Samuel Edgerton's The Murder of Jane McCrae, the Tragedy of American something in French, William Trutner, Picturing the Murder of Jane McCrae, A Critical Moment in Transatlantic Romanticism, and then Jeremy Angles and Greg Goodall's Our Battle Cry Will Be Remember Jane McCrae. So, the American Revolution was influenced by a vast number of people, and although not talked about to the same extent, there were actually many women who contributed to the American Revolution. One such woman who had an immense effect on the American Revolution was Jane McCrae. McCrae's contribution to the American Revolution is one that is unique and hardly discussed. Unlike some of the other women who had great effect on the American Revolution, McCrae's biggest contribution was not through poetry, physical confrontations, political arguments, or flag making. Instead, Jane McCrae's contribution to the American Revolution came by means of her death. McCrae was born to a colonial family. When the Revolutionary War broke out, her family quickly became divided, with 2 of her brothers joining the Continental Army and 3 of her brothers becoming loyalists. At the same time, she became engaged to David Jones. Jones was a loyalist in the army, and I'd say he seemed afraid about the war because he fled to Quebec and stuff, but he at one point arranged to meet up with Jane at Fort Ticonderoga. Jane left her brother's home and journeyed towards the fort, but she stopped to rest at the home of a loyalist. There, when she was there, a nearby fort was being attacked by the natives who worked with the British. During the attack, Jane was abducted by the natives. After being taken by the natives, Jane was killed. Her body was found to have been shot and scalped. There's some debate over how she was actually killed, and her body has actually been exhumed many times. But that's not necessarily what was important. The cause of death wasn't as important as what happened next. News broke of Jane's untimely demise, and the revolutionaries used the public outcry to their advantage. The people, the revolutionaries and the people on that side who disliked Great Britain, worked to spread word of her death throughout the American colonies, but they often embellished the incident and exaggerated the details. This led to McCrae's death becoming a cause to rally behind, and it worked as an inspiration for American resistance to the British. Numerous songs, poems, and folk stories were written about her death to bring more support for the American Revolution. So Jane McCrae's death was actually a contribution to the American Revolution because her death was actually a folk story or a martyr death to rally behind, and it led to many people joining the cause, or at least having some animosity towards the British because they were involved in some way with the natives who caused McCrae's death, who was an innocent woman. So that was Jane McCrae's that was Jane McCrae's effect on the American Revolution. Can't wait to hear what you all have to say.